Hey guys, and welcome to some more Star Citizen. I wanted to talk about some future concept ships, reworks, and flyable ships that we've got to look forward to between now and the end of 2017. So concept ships, there are a few concepts planned and that have been teased between now and the end of 2017. 7 or 8, according to Ben Lesnick. The information here, it comes from a mixture of sources from the Whiteboard League, from Ben Lesnick, and from the anniversary livestream. Links in the description below to a load of different sources. Concept artists are working on a top secret Aegis design to launch next year. This is probably the Aegis Eclipse, and I'm thinking that it's either an E-War ship or a stealthy ship now. So think stealth bomber type kind of stealth rather than invisibility. MISC have an unannounced concept ship in the works too, aiming to place them into the Murray Cup in 2947. So that translates to a 2017 ship, as the Star Citizen universe is 930 years advanced to us, basically. The MISC Racer is basically what we're talking about. I'm looking forward to what they can bring to the table, especially with that new flight rebalance that we're getting in 2.6. An additional Anvil design is in the works right now as well, a sturdy, older fighting ship. This is very likely to be the Anvil Hurricane, suspecting a tanky, slower fighter that's a bit older in lore, with a good amount of weaponry. The team at Origin have the smallest lineup of initial startup companies today, but they intend to change that with the launch of a dedicated multi-crew ship for 2947. Again, 2017 effectively. This is likely to be the Origin 600, which is an elite range of ships even for Origin. Expect Origin's answer to the Constellation or Constellation Phoenix. 2 further alien ships will be offered on the human market. Now, this is likely to be a Banu ship, and I'm guessing another Xi'an ship, most likely the Volpa bomber. Suspect a load of other ships to go on concept sale as well during 2017, but that's the ones that we have a little bit more information on. So Squadron 42 ships as well. So there's a lot of Squadron 42 ships that will be making making their way into the persistent universe once Squadron 42 is released. Think the F7A, so the military Hornet, the F8A, so that's the Lightning, heavy fighter, Idris, Bengal, Pegasus, Javelin, all those capital ships, as well as loads of military variants of ships that we already have. Now, the capital ships mentioned there obviously require netcode to support them in the Star Citizen persistent universe, and CryEngine said that they would be released once they have the ability, basically, to support 2 capital ships fighting each other with fighter support, without servers imploding. That's the sound of them imploding. Now, there's also going to be a Swathe, or however you pronounce that word, or Vandal ships that should be making their appearances too once Squadron 42 is released, from the Blade Light Fighter to Void Bombers to Harvesters to Harvester Carriers, the Cleaver, the Hunter Destroyer, Stinger, and the Mighty King ship. Lots and lots and lots of Vandal ships appearing. Now, some of those ships that we've mentioned might not be obtainable straight away, especially in the alpha. The capture mechanics are unlikely to be in, though I do suspect some clever pilots will find ways of glitching into some of these larger ships, especially, or some of these ships that are not purchasable at the start during sessions. Eventually, we're going to be able to keep ships that we capture, but don't expect that for the alpha, at least in the short term, and expect to see like these Vandal ships and some of these military ships more in the hands of NPCs or for mission-specific things in the PU. Flyable ship schedule. So various ships are planned and targeted at various patch releases. So for 2.6, we know that for 2.6 the Vanguard Hoplites there, the Herald, and they've now added, which was kind of a surprise, the Caterpillar, the 85X, and a load of 4 new ship loadouts. So the Hornet Wildfire, the Saber Comet, the Gladius Valiant, and the Avenger Renegade. They've all been added into the mix, but for 3.0, we're going to see the Urza Rover, obviously that's a ground vehicle, the Dragonfly, which is a mixture of a space and ground vehicle, and the Constellation Aquila, which is a hull variant. The 3.1, we're going to see the Cutlass Red and Blue, and we'll talk about the Cutlass Black as well in a second. The Hull C, as well as the Prospector. For 3.2, we're going to see the Constellation Taurus and the Phoenix, as well as the Terrapin, the Vanguard Harbinger and Sentinel, as well as the Reclaimer. 3.3 should be the Carrack, the 890 Jump, the Banu Merchantman, and the rest of the Reliant variants. And for 4.0, yes, it's skipping straight from 3.3 to 4.0 because it's going to be a larger release, adding a lot more into this, the universe, but also with the ships, the Orion and the Crucible aimed for that patch. Now, that's just a internal target for when the ships are planned to be released. Normally, these will and can move around a lot. And normally, again, the ships are more likely to come out earlier than we suspect. That list is certainly not an exhaustive one either. As mentioned earlier, there's Squadron 42 ships that are not included, nor are reworks included. Lots of the variants weren't included, and a couple of other ships weren't included. And the rest of the series, like the Hull series, other than the Hull C, were not included. So suspect them to get slotted in as soon as they're ready, basically. But for 3.1, where the Hull C's there, I would also expect the Hull A and B, for example. Rework. So most ships will be getting a bit of polish and new damage states and new levels of detail added to them, but some are also getting more substantial work. So suspect all of the ships in Star Citizen that we have flyable at the moment get at least a polish and the damage states added if they don't already have them. So the Cutlass Black, Red and Blue. The Cutlass Black rework is planned to be in at the same time or before the Red and Blue are flyable. So that will be coming with or before 3.1. So with 3.0 or 3.1, basically. Now, the Cutlass Black is much wider and more focused on cargo, boarding, and fighting, but not as dogfighter. We've done an in-depth breakdown of the Cutlass rework in a separate video, so please check that out. We know that the F7A had a big rework, and a lot of that kind of rework and improvements that they made with that Hornet will be coming down to the rest of the Hornet series at some point. The Origin Jumpworks 85X has kind of redefined the Origin pipeline as well. So the new improvements and materials applied to that 85X will be getting put onto the rest of the Origin Jumpworks line, so the M50 and 300 series, as well as all the upcoming Origin Jumpworks ships will be reworked for that. The Redeemer. So the Redeemer, a lot of people have been annoyed at this because they purchased one and it's kind of been left just in a hangar state but not flyable. It does require a bit more work, and it's going to get at least a refactor or even possibly a reconcepting. It's going to take a bit longer before we know more, but it's a ship that isn't needed for anything at the moment because it's not super important to Squadron 42. It's not important to Squadron 42, in fact, it's not used for it as far as I'm aware. And for the persistent universe, they are focusing on other bits and bobs and areas. And obviously, they have that Hoplite now fulfilling its like interim dropship role. So the Redeemer will be done at some point, just it's going to take a while, so bear that in mind, guys. The Auroras will be getting a rework too, as well as the rest of the Constellations. There's lots going on, so expect lots of rework stuff, lots of improvements to ships that we already have, as well as some variants being a bit more fleshed out. And talking about variants, modules, and loadouts, there are loads of modules that have been announced or have been worked on that will get added over the next year too. A third Argo module is in development. This is the Search and Rescue module for collecting ejected pilots and retreating them, basically. As with the Comet, Wildfire, Valiant, and Renegade, expect to see lots of ship loadouts, specialist skins, and that sort of stuff dropped into patches that have totally been unannounced and that are more likely just to be surprises. They are very likely to have concept artists, when they're not doing anything else, just working on new skins, new loadouts for ships, other ideas that will kind of just slot in. But there are living quarters and drop pods for the Redeemer module-wise, various modules for the Caterpillar. I expect to see a lot more weapons, modules, and components too, changing kind of a variety of what ships can do when you slot them in. So, you don't need to buy any of these modules or ships for real money. All you need is a $45 game package, and everything will be obtainable in-game once it's released. That said, you can even rent some of these ships now with Rec that is earnable in-game just by playing Arena Commander, and a lot of these ships will be available in a similar fashion once they come out of concept and are flyable too, and also eventually be available in the Persistent Universe, purchasable with Alpha UEC or UEC once we go to Beta or whatever. Patch 3.0 to 4.0 will also be adding these major game mechanics from planetary exploration and landing, to cargo, to mining, to medical and rescue, farming, lots and lots and lots of mechanics. The core game mechanics of the game, and the ships, as those game mechanics come online, those mechanics to those ships will be added, so you'll be getting a lot more gameplay too. So I just wanted to talk very briefly about some terminology that I use to define certain bits for ships that a lot of people find not confusing, but that lots of people use different terminology. So I'm going to explain my terminology usages, loadouts and battlefield upgrade kits. So loadouts are things that you can kind of fit onto a ship that doesn't physically change the hull. So components changes, new modules, weapons, an Avenger Titan and a Stalker. These are different loadouts basically for the Avenger, as are the Comet for the Sabre and the Wildfire for the Hornet. They're different loadouts. They don't physically change the ship. Battlefield upgrade kits. So these are loadout changes as well, and modules that change the ships to fit a different role. Most prevalent with the Vanguard series at the moment. They allow you to change from the Sentinel to the Harbinger to the Warden, but they are just module and item changes which are not permanent. Hulls or hull variants. These are distinctly different hulls. The Vanguard Hoplite or the Super Hornet are examples of these, where they have additions or changes from the rest of their series or the rest of the hulls in their series, making them able to mount different gear, different modules or features that you would not have in the rest of the series. The Super Hornet, for example, has an extra seat. The Hoplite has a different ramp, and some of the interior has been changed, so it can't use the rest of the modules or Battlefield upgrade kits that the rest of the Vanguard series can use. They are physically different hulls. So, do you think that's a fair description of hull variants and loadouts and how they differ? Please tell me. Anyway, the holiday live stream should be around the 16th of December as well, next Friday, and should be a wrap up of what CIG did during 2016 and a look towards 2017, as well as a few surprises. I'm hoping to see the vertical slice of Squadron 42, which should be about an hour-long chapter, and kind of a almost fully polished release mission. But we'll have to wait and see if that's ready then, or if they've got other plans. Anyway, looking forward to seeing some of those ships. Are you looking forward to seeing any ship in particular, or a particular concept ship? Do you have a different idea for what these concept ships might be? You don't have to agree with me all the time. Some of my stuff is obviously just educated guesses based on the information we have provided, so please feel free to differ from your opinions with me. Do you have everything that you already want ship-wise? Do you not give a damn about these concept ships? Do you wish they'd stop doing concept ships and concept sales? Or are you just waiting for more gameplay from 3.0 and onwards? Remember, commenting on any of our Star Citizen videos during a given month gives you a chance to win a ship for December. That's your choice of an 85X or Avenger Titan with lifetime insurance. Please remember to like and subscribe as well for more Star Citizen, Squadron 42, Star Marine, and Arena Commander content too. It really does help me, and I will see you in the verse.